here we are. We've got long hair work to do today, but we're going to work with curly hair. A bit like the previous film that we did, but that was short hair. So I want to start bringing in curly hair work. It's a little bit difficult sometimes because what happens is that they'll take the layers up and then they'll end up with the sort of like earmuffs. So that's the disconnection of the layering that's caused that. So there's not a great deal of the following of the layers, and that's what I'm going to do today. We're going to break it down. We're going to start from the sections a bit like the previous video, and we're going to work our way up. Afterwards, with guys and long hair, the secret is to always frame the hair. So if they have it up, they'll have it nicely framed. It could be a variation from a fade to a half, a one. Anything longer than that tends to look messy, so we're going to use a one today. And off we go. With curly hair as well, it's important that you shampoo the hair, condition it, and leave some form of conditioner in the hair. So that really helps curl, and it really does work with it. You cutting away, it softens the cortex and makes life a little bit easier. My first section is going to be at the bottom, so I just take a nice section there, bring it down, make sure it's taut, and the rest of the hair just gets put out of the way. Positioning of the head is really important, so we take the head down, which stretches the muscle at the back. If you don't do that, you get an imbalance of the correct line at the bottom. So what I'm going to do is keep the length, but we want to put some layers in. So I'm only going to take the ends off today, so making it really taut. So when you put your comb in, bring it down, hold it, so you've got this tension. You've got to have that tension. Without that tension, you get an unevenness at the bottom. So you got your first guideline there. Head back up. Next section. I like to use my fingers straight across, and then if I need to, if there's unevenness there, I like to use my comb. This is a great comb. It's got a slight sort of hook on the end, and it just helps you to go through and get a nice section, because a neat section is a neat haircut. So here we go. We're going to put the layer in now. So you've got your first runway, so I'll call these runways. We've done your first guideline, which we did the line at the bottom. And then depending on how much you want to take off, here, we're going to take this section. So you've got a nice angle there going up. If you want to go even shorter, you have to be careful not to take too much, because what happens is the bottom area will be really thin and the top area will be really thick, and that's what creates the earmuff effect. So you need to be careful not to take too much. So we take another section, and then I take half of the section that I've just cut. Reason being, that's my guideline as well as the original guideline. So if I go down, there's my original, and there's a second one just there, and you follow that through, and you follow all the way through. The reason I've pulled the hair out is to have a look and see how it falls, and if I'm happy with it. And off we go with work in layers. Now, because we're incorporating the sides, is when we start thinking about our next guideline. We need to figure out what it is that the customer is after. If they want it framed with curly hair. Again, you've got to be careful because with the cortex being wet at the moment, the weight of it is pulling it down. So when you cut it, so say you cut an inch, it ends up going up nearly 2 inches, let's say, depending on the curl. So that's why you need to be careful. You need to work it out in your mind. So the more you do, the better it is. Practice makes perfect, as they say. So on this particular haircut, we're having long layers. So we're going to go follow that through there. And I'm just going to take the ends off. Because even though we take the ends off on curly hair, it does feel like we've taken a lot off. And then we'll follow that through with your runway. So larger teeth in first, smaller teeth in. Why? We don't want any tension on those roots. We want to bring that right up, really taut. Has anyone noticed that my angling on this section is different than the other side? So on this side, I am bringing my arm over to bring it up. On this side, I'm bringing my right, and my holding one is down. So on this side, the elbow should be in your waist. On this side, your elbow should be up to the ceiling. So this way you get a great angle, because by doing it the other way like this is where you get an awful lot that create the wrong cuts. So as you approach the crown, I like to create just a slight straight edge where the crown is there. With curly hair. Over the years I've used a different level of techniques, and I find this one works the best. Now with curly hair, when you're layering, you have to really be careful not to take it too short on the crown area, because that's where it just starts sticking up. Again, do your runways, cut a section, take a section, and take half of the previous section. Like there's my half, move that out of the way, take another section, move that out of the way, put it forward, wide teeth in, small teeth in, bring it down, and you just tidy that up. We don't need this section from the bottom because we've done that, so you can work your way up to the crown. Now, there's no pointing like my previous video because the hair naturally feathers itself, and if we're going to do that, we create too much of a curl. One of the many questions I get asked is, how do I section without getting in a mess? So if you get a good comb with basically the little hook there, it really does help. So by doing just a section like this, then you feel it with your finger and you separate it, you've got a nice neat line, and that's the secret. Is know your tools, work with your tools, have a selection of tools. Now what we don't want to do is take the crown too short. With curly hair, it'll just bounce really up and just stick out. So we're doing the long layers today, that's what we're working at. So we brought it from the bottom upwards. And again, your runways are pretty standard. Take a section. I've already worked my way up. Use your wide teeth, then your narrow teeth. And just give it a nice trim. Now if you wanted to create a shorter cut, same techniques, you just take more. It's also important to have your hand in a certain position. So, for example, if I was to pull that out, I am wanting to take this section here. So if I was to have it like this, I'll be taking too much off. That's the previous bit I've cut, so we want to match that bit. So we take it slightly out, and once you've dropped that section there, this is the bit that you're going to go. And this is how you work your way up, because you work from your guideline. To start with, it looks daunting with anything, and a lot don't like to deal with long hair. But these are the techniques, and if you master the techniques, you can create an array of long hair work. See what lift there is by just teasing it back up, so you can just about see. Nuts. I'm happy with the section there, so that's good. So now you're getting to the end of your haircut, but this is quite an important one. So we want to take, there's a guideline, we want to take this section, so you're just bringing it really neat. Drop it, half a section, take that to the side, new section, together, comb in, out, narrow teeth, get the tension, and that's the bit. So as I'm moving up from the occipital to the crown, I'm lifting the hair up, because if I was to bring this down, it'd be completely different. So I'm following this, making sure you've got the tension and it's nice and straight, taking it up. There's your guideline, and take that bit off. As we worked from before, the guideline, so my guideline is just there, and I'm just taking it up just slightly, because we want to have long layers there. And then we've got this last section, go straight in the centre, take it down, and we've got guidelines everywhere now. Guidelines from the bottom, working our way up, the sides, working our way up, the crown. So I'm now going to incorporate that last section. Remember, don't be tempted to pick all of the hair up. You only need to work with the section of about 3 inches from where you cut last. So now we've gone and basically tidied that up. We've worked with our layers up. I'm just going to cross-check it. Cross-checking is important after your haircut. Just basically you go through it, you don't do the same technique, you take larger sections, and then you can see if you've missed any guidelines, and then you correct it. At this point I tend to do horseshoe shape. Like I say, because we're cross-checking, this is what we're doing. Don't cut haircut like this. And then we can see. You would be able to tell by doing this if you've missed guidelines. So it should be basically, do that again. With the sides, same thing. Remember, on this side, your elbow is up. If your velvet isn't up by taking that section. You just can't do it unless you're going to work this side. It's just get in the habit with that one. There you go, that's your finished long curly layered haircut. Now as it dries, this will go just slightly up.